Good afternoon. Today is June 20th, 2025. This is the Rowan County Commissioner 3 p.m. meeting. We're grateful that you're here with us. Hope that you find your time here with us today a profitable time. What did I say? Well, fewer days for Christmas shopping, evidently. Today's June 20th. Let me start again. Today's June 2nd. 2025, 3 p.m. meeting, Rowan County Commissioners. Thank you for being here with us today. We're going to start as we usually do. It's our tradition. We do a few things. We're going to have a Pledge of Allegiance. We'll have our chaplain come forward. Our gracious chaplain Taylor will come forward and give us what is called a solemnizing prayer. Solemnizing prayer is a prayer for the commissioners. It's not for you. You're welcome to stay and listen if you like. But especially today, and most meetings, we seek wisdom in those decisions that we have to make and try to make decisions that are in the best interest of all the residents of Rowan County. So that's exactly what we'll do today. If you'll come forward, Chaplain, Commissioners, if you'll join me, we'll get started.
Commissioners, let us pray. Lord, we're blessed to be here today, Lord. We thank you for our county commissioners, Lord. We thank as we come today, Lord, that you've given the wisdom they need as we have this meeting today. We thank you for the work they do for this county, dear Lord. Pray you bless them and strengthen them, dear Lord. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chaplain Taylor, as always, for being with us. We appreciate you very much. I don't think we have any additions. Oh, we have one. Stand corrected. Where do you want that?
If you want to, board action is fine.
Let's do AA. AA. Any other additions or deletions? All right, then do we have a motion to approve that addition?
So moved. Okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion to approve the agenda. Well, we just did that. That's fine. All right, then the consent agenda is presented. Nothing's been changed on that. Motion to approve the consent agenda. All right, in a second.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, public comment period. We have one person signed up. I'm sorry. On clipboard. We have 4 folks signed up. First one, Bobby Kemp. Bobby, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. It's good to see y'all again. I just 2 things I want to say, and I'll get them within 3 minutes, I promise. It hadn't been too long ago, 2019, I had a brother-in-law that passed away. In 2021, I had his wife, who's my sister. She passed away from COVID. They had a home here in China Grove, double wide and a piece of land. Had 2 sons. One of them's never had a driver's license. He's 60 years old. The other one's in Compass up here at Salisbury. I just dropped him off a meal before I come here. And they were unaware and incapable of what was going on. As the years rolled by, 3-4 years gone by, the taxes hadn't been paid. And when I got involved with it, I went to our tax office here and I spoke with, I think, Miss Wendy Rush, explained to her what was going on. She already had it ready to go to auction sale to sell it. But I want to say I appreciate her working with me. 2 weeks ago, we got the taxes paid off, got everything straightened out. And I just want to say I appreciate them taking time to work with me and not going forward with the foreclosure as they had planned on doing. The kickback on that is the taxes. I mean, the fees that the attorneys charged was outrageous. They were almost as much as the taxes. I think the attorney fees was close to $5,000 that had to be paid. I thought that was a little bit steep. And that's all I want to say about that. The other thing is, March the 15th, I had a mother-in-law passed away. Her husband was a decorated veteran in the Air Force. He was in Korea, also in Vietnam. We had her funeral at Unity Baptist Church in Kannapolis, right behind the Whataburger. And I'd like to thank our sheriff and his staff for the escort that they gave my mother-in-law to the funeral home. When we came out from the church, there was numerous cars there with lights on, motorcycles. I've never, in all my years, I've been to the graveside a many a time. I've preached funerals. I've been in possessions before. I have never seen anything like this, and I want to tell them thank you. As we went north on 29, there was not a car that passed us in the southbound lane. There wasn't a car that passed us in the northbound lane that we was. All the way from Kannapolis, all the way to the cemetery here off of Statesville Boulevard, did not one person come by. As we went up the road, as they went up the road with their lights on and everything, as we was traveling, people in the southbound lane would actually stop and get out and salute. And I appreciate our sheriff and his staff. That was a great honor to my mother-in-law.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. I've never lived in the north, so I don't know what they do, but I know what we do in the south, and that's a thing that I appreciate. Yeah, they do the same thing? All right, then I just appreciate all of us doing the same thing. How about that? Is that good? All right, next, Megan Mack. Megan, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Hello, everyone. My name is May, and I'm a member of Down Home, North Carolina. We are a group of multiracial and working class folks that come together to help make our community safer, healthier, and better able to meet the needs of the people that live here. We're here tonight advocating for this board to invest in our youth. And by doing this, by implementing the Communities That Care model. It's a universal prevention model that will address a widely and deeply felt issue within our community, our youth being lost to violence, to drugs, to struggling with mental health challenges. And these are things that no child or parent should have to experience. This weekend I had a conversation that really stuck with me. It's ironic you just mentioned something about this, but she was a mother of 3 that highlighted how she spent her formative years in another state, in a state that was a little bit further north. And that sometimes when she was down here, it felt that there was difficulty accessing resources and that they were kept behind closed doors. She told me that she'd heard of hardly any summer activities to engage her kids in positive activities while they were out of school, and that her 9-year-old daughter agreed that she hadn't heard of any when she was in school. When I mentioned a table of resources that providers have given our group that are available within the community, she mentioned, but how do I find this information? Who's the one person that I call that I can connect with, the number that I dial to access these? This is the same story that we hear across the community. Whatever resources there are within the community, they don't feel accessible. The great work that's being done across our community, that people are putting in hours and hours and hours because they're passionate and they care about our youth, that all of that could be done, could be magnified, the great work that's being done. If the challenges could be addressed, that there is a disconnect between the resources and the youth that need them most. If we could facilitate the resources connecting to the community that is searching and that wants them. And we have a solution. There is an evidence-based, demonstrated program called Communities That Care. It's a model that's been effective in communities across the country. It's versatile. It can be implemented into existing coalitions that we have great work being done here already. They can coordinate already established organizations, identify gaps, and it centers around a full-time coordinator facilitator that implements this model here in our community. This is a person that parents and youth could call that could connect them with the resources that they need. Instead of waiting until our kids are already in the system, we are here to ask you to please invest in a universal prevention program. We know that it's a good investment with a $6 return for every dollar that's invested. And we know that prevention is key to reducing long-term suffering. So we are here to ask you to please fund a full-time coordinator position for the Communities That Care program and invest in our youth because they are. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Elias Barber. Elias, welcome. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Thank you for having this session, opening this.
Pull that mic down a little bit
sorry.
there you go.
Is this all right?
Yes,
Okay.
better, yeah.
Just want to say thank you for having us here. Thank you for opening this for public comment. My name is Elias Barber. I'm here today with the Rowan chapter of Down Home, North Carolina. And I'm here today to talk about our community's concerns, and that is investing in that tested, beneficial prevention model for disconnected and struggling youth that May touched on, called Communities That Care. This model is socially and economically beneficial, intervening in issues such as youth disconnect, violence, and drug use before things reach a boiling point. We are advocating that money be allocated to fund a position to coordinate Rowan County's resources to those who need it the most in this action-based, proven method of addressing youth issues. Before I get into specifics, I wanted to better introduce myself. I'm here not just with Down Home to talk about our issue topic, but also to talk about the very real and omnipresent issues faced in the community of our youth. My family has lived in Rowan County my entire life. I graduated high school 3 years ago, and I'm truthful when I say that I have lived in fear of my classmates and in fear for my classmates. I was scared of those who needed help but never got it, who took their confusion and anger out on my other peers. I was scared for those who I saw battling substance abuse when we were freshly 13 and 14. I'm mournful for the friends that my oldest sister lost growing up, the classmates that were jailed because they were selling pills already in the 9th and 10th grade, and the 20-plus friends she has lost to substance abuse in the past decade. This issue didn't end with her generation, and we're now seeing a new resilient breed of this as people, especially our youth, become further disconnected through a digitized age. As a person who lives in and probably wants to start a family someday in Rowan County, I'm scared and mournful when I think of the 14-year-old who just last month shot a man who had to be airlifted to Charlotte. What got him into this situation? He may have not had a good home life, but I think of what our talented counselors could have done. If someone were to be checking in with this teenager regularly, connecting him with the right resources, I'm sure someone noticed that he was either troubled or running with the wrong crowd, but things still ended how they ended, and he never got the help he needed before it was too late. We have programs, we have county resources, but how could he, a disconnected and lost youth, discover these resources on his own? I want to make it clear when I say that I understand that Rowan County has an abundance of resources and programs. We have amazing resources here. I've seen it firsthand, especially through the health department and its expansion with Healthy Rowan, and I know that it does amazing work. But I know that when I was a kid in school, not too long ago, these resources felt completely inaccessible to me. Because neither I nor my family knew they existed. I know people my age and younger who have suffered through mental health struggles, substance abuse, and violence, all stuck because they could not afford help. They did not know where and how to access our county's diverse and already existing. Oh, sorry.
All right, next on our list, Daquan Clemon. Oh, I'm sorry, Coleman. Hey, welcome. We're glad you're here.
Hey, how y'all doing today?
Good.
I'm here on the behalf of Down Home, North Carolina, also as a representative of the people, Salisbury, North Carolina. Came up here probably about 2 months ago, asking on the behalf of y'all to open your eyes and ears to what's going on in the community, not just in Salisbury, but all across Rowan County, around North Carolina and around the United States as a whole. Since then, there's been numerous of things that's been going on, but just to highlight, it was a shooting. Since then, there was a shooting in front of the rec center on the West End not so long ago. There was a 14-year-old that badly injured. I don't know if he died or succumbed to his injuries. I believe on the same side of town. And you had to fight at the Cherry Wine Festival. A couple months ago, I said Out of Minds, a Devil Workshop. We also have a rise with the Job Corps closing, and a lot of people are not really getting that skill, that trade is needed. and it's a vacuum. So when you guys are deciding your budget, I hope that y'all keep those things in mind because that was before school was out. These are young people that happened on the Cherry Wine Festival, shooting and other shooting. These are young people, getting younger and younger. So again, I hope we invest into our future generations because they are going to be the ones who take up the mantle of tomorrow. And I hope y'all consider that when y'all are considering y'all budget. I also have a verse I read today this morning, and it just told me to kind of relate a message as well. So the verse is from Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 28. It says, "Therefore say to them, this is a nation," oh man, I just brought the Bible. "This is a nation that has not obeyed the Lord, his God, or responded to correction. Truth has perished and is vanished from their lips." This is something that's been going on across our country. Everybody's having their own truth, but not realizing the ultimate truth, the golden rule. So I just hope that Rowan County and the Board of Commissioners don't continue to follow this trend that we're seeing nationwide and kind of open up the door for truth. That's all we got.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for being here. All right.
Greg, one more underneath.
Adina Lyerly.
So today I have brought with me the youth of our community, which I want to speak on behalf of. They do want a good future, a great future. And the only way we can do that is to reach out to them and reach them where they are. You can't be somewhere and not be where they are. You have to go to them, reach to them, so that you can understand them and where they are, so that you can help them get to their better future. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to connect the community with businesses that are out here that, say for instance, my daughter, she likes to cook and she also likes to do hair. So why can't she go in the community to a business where they are doing the things that she wants to do in the future to help her, push her into a better future? My cousin, she likes to also do hair and nails and things of that nature. We want to, connect those people to the resources that they need so that they can better themselves. And I am with Down Home also. That's the goal that we have in mind, to connect. Because at the end of the day, politics, everything, that's great, that's good, that's all great. God, that's good, that's all great. I believe in God as well. But we need to do the work. And if we're not doing the work together as a community, how can we help them further along themselves in the future? So that's what we need as far as a budget, trying to give back to the youth because they are our future. And that's all I have.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. Our next item is anyone from Oakdale Baptist Church here? All right, I don't see anyone, but we do have a proclamation for them, and Commissioner Green, would you like to present that?
I'd be honored to. To our community, Oakdale Baptist Church is located in Spencer, North Carolina, and Sunday they had their 100th anniversary And we'd just like to acknowledge that and the hard work that those folks have done and being together for 100 years. So this is a proclamation in honor of the 100th anniversary of Oakdale Baptist Church. Whereas Oakdale Baptist Church was founded in 1925 in the town of Spencer, North Carolina, and has faithfully served the spiritual, social, and civic needs of Rowan County residents for a full century. And whereas born from a vision and dedication of a group of believers committed to spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, Oakdale Baptist Church held its early services in humble surroundings before growing into a strong and enduring congregation guided by a lineage of devoted pastors and leaders. And whereas Oakdale Baptist Church has withstood the test of time, including economic hardships, wars, and cultural shifts, yet has remained a steadfast light in the community by providing community support, encouragement, and fellowship through changing times. And whereas as the church marks its centennial year in 2025, the Rowan County Board of Commissioners recognizes this milestone as a significant moment in our county's religious and cultural heritage. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Rowan County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize and honor Oakdale Baptist Church of Spencer, North Carolina, on the occasion of its 100th anniversary. The Board of Commissioners extends heartfelt congratulations and sincere appreciation for a century of faithful service, and we commend the congregation for its unwavering dedication to living out the values of faith, compassion, and community. This second day of June 2025, and Mr. Chairman, I make that in the form of a motion. Second.
All right, motion a second. Other comments at all? Congratulations to these folks. Jim said he'll get that to them. Jim's been out of town watching a little Tennessee softball. Where were you? What state were you in? Oregon?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. So we hate to see you back.
I understand. I don't hate to be back, but I'm sorry that I'm not there and that we're not still winning.
Jim's granddaughter plays for Tennessee, and so their road ended this morning, and so Jim flew back. We're glad to have you here, but Jim said he'll get that to him. We got a motion, a second. Any other comments? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, well, thank you. All right, we'll move into our regular agenda. We'll have our public hearing for fiscal year 2025-26 budget. Mr. Manager, anything from you? I think there may be a few changes.
Yeah, the document that was emailed out and handed out, there are a few changes based on some feedback and also some errors. One is the soil and water grant that was overlooked in the budget process, so we included it here. Regular salaries in the board's budget for the clerk is the next line. Rowan Cabarrus YMCA, I think they asked for $175,000. This is consider providing $20,000 to Y. Rowan Helping Ministries, something that they had asked for was $20,000. And then the last thing we were asked how much it would cost to do a 1% supplement for all teachers. Or not, I'm sorry, the language is not teachers. The language is certified staff. For the school system, currently it's at 8%. If you were to take that to 9%, that would cost $901,000. So those changes, the total change to the budget would be an increase of $922,800. No, not necessarily because the revenue is in there. So $922,802 minus $23,249 would be the change to the budget. And there would be a unrestricted, did I say that right? Or was it plus? Yeah. And then there would be a unrestricted fund balance appropriation to balance the budget at $922,802. And then number two are some detail-oriented technical changes to the budget. As far as the pay increases for employees, we added the word benefited for employees, and what that does is take care of full-time and part-time benefited. And then we excluded the commissioners from the 500 in-grade progression and the 4% in-grade progression. That was in the budget presentation, but we forgot to put that in the budget message. And then added the word benefited again. And then on the next page, there's some change that changes the longevity thing to be continuous years of service as of December 31st versus what it had in there previously, because the longevity will be paid out January 1st. So those are the only changes right now to the budget. And I'd be happy to answer any questions about those.
All right, any immediate questions from, or for the county manager? All right, so we're at this part in our year. These folks have spent hundreds and hundreds of hours going through this, and so it's been presented to the community. And so now we're going to have a public hearing. And so second, I'll gavel us into a public hearing. We've got one person that signed up for the public hearing. And so we'll go ahead and do that. So we'll open public hearing. We have one person signed up, Mr. Kemp.
Thank you for letting me speak again. After coming in front of y'all for the last year and a half, I think pretty much know where I stand on some things. And I want to commend Mr. Church and his staff for all the hard work they put into this. I've read the budget quite a few times. I went back and watched the online videos from the last meetings. I realize that we have to take care of our county employees. That's very important. Incentives and pay. We've definitely got to take care of our police department, our emergency people, our fire departments. All that is a must that we have to do. Our schools, our teachers. There's so much that has to be done, has to be taken care of. The only thing that I didn't see in this budget that really I didn't like is what I didn't see. And what I didn't see, as y'all have heard me say before, what about our seniors, our veterans, and our disabled? We need some help. It's a real battle, and I know Mr. Church was talking about that we may have to let some employees go, or may even have to raise some taxes, whether it's sales tax or property value tax. Some of us just can't afford no more. And that's what I was going to say. I hope you would really, and I realize what you're up against. I plainly see it. You've only got so much money to work with, and the need is so great. I really do see that. I understand that. But then the need is so great with our veterans, our seniors, and our disabled, with some of the help that they need too. And that's what I'm here pleading on for a year and a half now. I've been coming talking to you about that. And I'm not gonna take up no more time. That's what I had to say. And I appreciate y'all listening. And I do appreciate the job you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll close the public hearing and just open the floor to the commissioners. Any comments, discussion? I will say on the school side, some of you may know how teacher salaries work in North Carolina, but there's a raise coming from the state to North Carolina teachers. The Senate and the House will figure that out, what that is. At some point, counties decided they would try to entice teachers or award teachers above and beyond what the state pays. And so a couple years ago, the county changed how we do teacher supplements, make it more competitive, more in line with folks around us. We used to have just a stated amount that we would give on top of teacher pay, and so that's now gone to a percentage. And so the school is asking us to try to work toward a 12%, currently at 8%. So what we're doing is moving this to 9 now, and hoping to move each year closer to that, to one, honor teachers, but also to keep us competitive with counties and communities around us. So that's what that certified supplement is for. That's the only thing I wanted to explain in here. Any other comments? Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I've been a commissioner now 13 years, and there's never enough money. I don't care what you do, how you try to collect it, it's just not enough. I agree with Mr. Kemp. We need to look at programs to help the elderly and help the veterans, because we have a tremendous veterans population in this town because of the VE hospital. And I appreciate folks that come out wanting to address the problems that the youth have. I agree it's a problem, but there's just so much money. And, you know, we can tax everybody and take care of all these programs, and then you'll watch everybody move out of here because it's too expensive to live here. And that's what I don't want to see. You know, we've invested a lot of time and money training these employees that we have, making sure that they're benefited properly so that they'll retain their jobs here and not move to the surrounding counties. But we're up against that all the time, especially with the sheriff's department. And, you know, we just want people to understand we sincerely care about this, and we work hard to do all we can, but there's just so much money that you got. And, you know, say it in a nice way, we keep being tempted from the state and federal government. They're going to give us grants. They're going to do this. They never materialize. So it's hard to put together a yearly budget based on promises and wishes. So we have to say, this is what we've got to work with. And if things change, that we come into some additional revenues, that'll give us some opportunities to do things that we need to do for our citizens. But I want you to understand, there's nobody on this board that doesn't care. We work hard to try to do all we can do with what we've got to work with. Just want to assure you all of that. Mr. Chairman, you need a motion?
No, I do want to add just one thing to that. We are blessed to be where we are geographically, but we are also challenged by that. What I mean by that is it's great that we have Charlotte to the south of us. Culture, sports, arts, restaurants, all of that. Just to the south of us, we have Speedway, at Greensboro to the north of us, and so we have this benefit of being in the middle. The real challenge for a community like Rowan County, who and we are grateful that we have been blessed recently with growth that is coming our way, and it's helping us with our budgets and to pay for the things that we value. But think about the challenge that it also presents. While Commissioner Pierce was talking, I just quickly Googled the budget ordinance for Cabarrus County. What's total budget on this year for us? 215 million. Cabarrus County budget is 379 million. Okay. So that's $160 million more than we have here. So what does that mean? Then when you look, Winston-Salem, Greensboro, all of these are within comfortable driving distance from Rowan County. You know, you live in Atlanta and you live 2 miles from your work, it still takes you an hour to get to work, right? Well, here in Rowan County, and frankly, if you live in Cabarrus or Charlotte, you can work in Rowan County. You can get here in under an hour. So the challenge is for us to compete economically with communities who have much more revenue and income than we have. And so that struggle is a tough one. And it's not just us. I had a conversation with the chairman of a neighboring, chairman of the county commission for a neighboring county, and he said, "Man, y'all are killing us." And I said, "We're not killing you. This starts as low as Greenville, South Carolina. They raise the pay of their employees, and then it gets felt in Rock Hill or Spartanburg, and Spartanburg gets felt in Rock Hill, and Gaston County raises theirs to compete with Rock Hill because of Spartanburg and Greenville, and then Mecklenburg County, they raise theirs, they can, and then we feel it, we see it just coming like a wave up Cabarrus County, Kannapolis, and next thing we've had this conversation with the sheriff. We write our pay, and 2 weeks later we're slaughtered because everyone around us is also trying to write their pay as the wave kind of comes north and comes south. And so Commissioner Pierce is right. We are trying to do. This is why this board has been so active in the economic development area, because the old saying is nothing happens till something's sold. And so we have been working hard to bring jobs and investment to this community. We've cut our incentives in half to try to bring more revenue in here. We just had a revaluation a few years ago that was painful, right? Painful. And we understand what you're saying about seniors and veterans, and that decision doesn't get made here. I know you wish it would, that we would be I don't know what to call it, a jump out there and do it on our own. We don't have the law behind us to do a special tax rate for seniors and veterans. That gets handled. That is determined by the state and by the legislature, and they've had those conversations about what to do. So we are holding the tax rate for the taxpayers of Rowan County, but at the same time, we had $50 million more in requests this year than the revenue we have to meet that, and we're still trying to compete with all those around us. When we ran, and it's the same with Craig and Mike Caskey, when they ran, you know, we were a training ground for employees. We would hire folks and train them here, and then off they would go to Cabarrus County or Winston-Salem or Davidson County or Davie County or Stanley County because they can drive there. And so we had the worst possible scenario being a training ground, and then our turnover was really high. And we had to right that ship. And so our budget this year is considerably higher than it was in 2014, 2015, and most of that money has gone toward people and personnel and making sure that our folks are competitive. And so we've done the best we can do at this point. And so there's folks that'll be disappointed, folks will be mad, and we get it. And I read recently, if you want to make people happy, sell them ice cream. If you want to make them mad, then run for office. And I don't know, this is what we wanted. I'm happy to take y'all out for ice cream afterwards, if you like. But hard decisions been made, and so we'll move forward. Any other comments?
Just one, Mr. Chairman. If there is a motion to approve it, I'd like to ask the board to consider with the amended changes on the handout 1 and 2.
Yeah, 101?
Yeah, for Fund 101.
Yes. All right, let me go through these. We don't just vote one time on budget. We have to vote for all of the funds. And so you have in front of you, Commissioners, the recommended amendments, and those would apply to General Fund 101. So do we have a motion to approve General Fund 101 with the provided amendments? Do we have a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 201 is the Fire District Fund. We have a motion to approve Fund 201 as presented.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 202 is the Emergency Telephone System Fund. We have a motion to approve Fund 202.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 206 is Opioid Settlement Fund. We have a motion to approve the opioid
So moved.
settlement.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 501 is Risk Management Fund. Motion to approve
So moved.
Fund 501.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 601 is the Landfill Fund, Enterprise Fund. Motion to approve that fund.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Enterprise Airport Fund. Motion to approve Fund 603.
So moved.
And a
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Someone else, feel free to jump in if you like. Fund 605, Enterprise Fund, Water Fund. Motion to approve that fund.
So moved.
And a second. All right, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 701 is the DSS Trust Fund. Motion to approve Fund 701.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 702, Fines and Forfeitures. Motion to approve Fund 702. We have motions. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fund 703 is the ARPA Fund. Motion to approve Fund 703.
So moved.
Motion. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Manager, do we need to approve the overall, or is that all?
No, that's sufficient. Thank you very much.
All right.
Are you through with that? Could I just make a comment? At the West End Plaza, we have some plans that haven't been finished because of lack of funds out there. And one group who is being affected by this is the Master Gardeners Group. And they want to see that the greenhouse construction is completed because they've done a lot of hard work out on Old Concord Road, and they, now they're having to start all over again because the ag department is being moved out to
Highway 70. The completion of this greenhouse is around $100,000. And I saw Amy Lynn back there somewhere. If I get off base with numbers, it's because I'm old and confused, Amy, not that I don't want to give the right numbers. But the constructing this is about $100,000. They have received a grant for approximately $28,000, and we'll need some matching funds. But they have chosen on their own, they want to raise that money themselves. And I would like to acknowledge that they are doing that and that the county commission is fully behind them raising that money and being able to have enough money to build that greenhouse out there. So if you hear something from Master Gardeners, just know that county commissioners are backing them in raising this money. At this point, we have not been asked to give any money or do anything from our budget, but we applaud the Master Gardeners for undertaking their task of building that building out there.
I think they've already,
But Jim, that means we all get to open our wallets and help them, right?
and I think they've already raised,
Well, she was, I don't.
Did she leave?
yeah, they've
Saw
already,
I was back and she.
they've
left.
already, I found out some stuff, last week. Can't believe I didn't know, but they saw a lot of plants. They have
Yeah,
plant sales
a
in
lot.
January, February, and they're matching that 28 with their own 28 and then try to raise the rest. So there you go. All right, Shane Stewart, welcome. Glad you're here. We're going to have a legislative hearing for SNIA 01-25. Mr. Foley.
Good afternoon. Mr. Doug Foley is requesting a SNIA request. And I just learned he's now the owner too. He bought it from Cash Properties before the first application was submitted for review, so now he's also the owner and applicant. And the SNIA request would be for 2 lots out on Nitro Alley in the Horsepower Park development. If you go out there near the county line, West Rowan, Southwest Rowan actually, all these colored areas, purple and red, those represent various industrial parks and Mooresville Drag Strip. So these are a lot of properties that receive the bulk of our watershed allocation. So the SNI is just that allocation of our 10% to allow development up to 70%. One thing we always try to provide the board is, one, you start with the map, which watershed are we speaking of? You see the star here for Caudle Creek. So in the Caudle Creek watershed, here are our statistics. Even with the Southwest Industrial Park, which is our largest allocation back October of last year, we've still only allocated 2% of our 10% that we can devote to 70%. So currently, we have a little over 950 acres for allocation in Caudle Creek. And this request would be for 2 lots totaling 4¼ acres. If you look at the screen here, you see the subject 2 lots. And this picture is a little bit dated. So as of current, these 4 undeveloped lots all have completed buildings. I believe this one has a CO request this week. All the others are occupied, so it would be the remaining 2 lots here, Mr. Foley owns. So the site plan and the proposed development plan would eliminate that common line, combine the lots into one big tract, and Mr. Foley is proposing 2 15,000 square foot buildings. One of the things that's a bit unique about this we don't often see is you have a environmental feature, small perennial waterway and wetland associated with that. So the state requires a 100-foot buffer against development activity if the county elects the watershed SNIA. So this whole area here could not be developed. you take that consideration and all the site that is developed, you really have a pretty good utilization of their 4¼ acres devoted to 30,000 square foot parking lots and the need for the septic area here in the front, the buffer along the bottom. So keep that in mind too as we go through the SNIA criteria for the land use plan. I won't touch on all these, but several years ago, the board adopted some general guidance principles for when we allocate our watershed. So the very top one, single parcel, generally about 2 acres is the max. So we've got 2 lots, on average is right around 2 acres each. Again, they're restricted by the buffer area, so it's an appropriate balance, 30,000 to that 4¼ acre. And it's consistent with all the other projects in the area. These will be the last 2 in Horsepower Park. So Mr. Foley will have to get busy finding some other land to bring to the board, but that'll satisfy that park and several others. There's only the Southwest Industrial Park and a few lots left in Mooresville Motorsports. So with all that considered, and then the last bullet point here, the encouragement of any of those pre-existing developments prior to '03, there's an encouragement for SNIA consideration for those. Required notice goes out to adjoining landowners, signed, posted, ad in the Salisbury Post, as required by the ordinance. Planning Board did hold a courtesy hearing, unanimous recommendation of approval. Offer this statement for the board's consideration here. So we would need a public hearing, take any comments, consider the statement before you hear, and then a motion to approve the request. Any questions?
All right, thanks. We will open the floor and have a public comment period. Anyone would like to speak on this SNIA request? Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll offer up this statement of reasonableness and consistency. SNIA 01-25 is consistent with the West Area Land Use Plan and reasonable and appropriate based on the following. 1, the site is located within a commercial industrial area, and 2, the request is consistent with the surrounding area. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And do we have a motion to approve SNIA 01-25?
So approved.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks, Shane. Back up.
All right, one more. I just, during the meeting, was replying back and forth with the property owner. I'm not sure if there's anyone here representing the owner. He was out of state for about 3 weeks, so it's a fairly straightforward request, but Mr. William Claytor Jr. is the owner of 1075 Parks Road, parcel 422-159, and you see that here in the background here. So looking at the vicinity map, we're at the corner of Mount Hope Church Road, Parks Road, and the split off there at Happy Lake. But the subject tract here is outlined in red. The color on the map is green for manufactured home park. The request would be to rezone from MHP to RA, rural ag, which is everything else in yellow here. From a few months ago, this is an image north facing to the left here at Parks Road. You look on the site, 1075 Parks Road. This is a double-wide manufactured home. Used to be a auto towing service here. I believe it's been ceased operation for about 20 years. We have 2 single-wide manufactured homes and a private drive that serve that site. Back in 1989, 1990, this was registered by the property owner at that time, and it had a 4-unit park. And the current owners, as you saw from this image here, you only have 2 homes, and they do not want to operate the park anymore, and they actually would like to subdivide, and they have family members they want to sell the lots to. Just First action would be rezone it from a park to RA, regardless of what they want to do with it. Divide it or leave it the way it is. It either immediately becomes non-conforming, or when they divide it, becomes conforming, where you have one home per lot. But talked with the property owner several times about it, fully aware of the standards for this action, depending on the direction that he elects to go. In a simple comparison, the two, MHP is a very exclusive district. It only allows for parks and residential on individual lots as well. So this would be consistent with the surrounding zone with that change. You do have two other parks nearby. This doesn't have any impact on those, nor the surrounding landowners with that decision based on their use. The land use plan really would support either decision, but being that the predominant use is RA, it's consistent with Area 2 of the plan. And as far as notice, I believe we had one citizen that called in, but was not opposed to the request. So similar to the previous one, the planning board held a courtesy hearing, approved the request, offered this statement, and so we would need the statement from the board and also a decision on the request. Any questions?
Isn't there a housing development pretty close to this property?
There is one, there's one right here, Sagewood. I don't think there's one really close right here.
No, there's not any right there. I didn't see the name there.
Yeah. Happy Farms is right here. It's a Western theme place. I think they have after-school care and other uses. But then further down, Happy Lake Road's the former Happy Lake recreation area.
Is anyone from the applicant here? The applicant here? Anyone want to speak? All right, if not, then again, we'll offer up a statement of reasonable. All right, well then we'll open the floor to a public hearing. Anyone interested in this, if they'd like to speak, we'd love to hear from you. Anyone? Anyone? All right, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll offer up a statement of reasonableness and consistency. Z03-25 is consistent with the East Rowan Area 2 Land Use Plan and reasonable and appropriate based on the following. The rural agriculture is an appropriate designation that matches the zoning district of property on north, south, and western sides and majority of the surrounding area. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion to approve Z03-25.
So moved.
All right. Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Muir, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
So I wanted to follow up with the board at its meeting in March. There was a consensus from the group that the county needed to look at its noise ordinance and provide some updates since it was last adopted, I think, in 2001. So what I want to do is go over what we've done to date and just kind of get some feedback from the board before we send this to the planning board to have them really consider some substantive changes. Since that meeting in March, we have researched over a dozen county ordinances across the state to see what they do and what they don't do. And we also, I think is important, is look to see what type of calls that Rowan Telecommunications got in 2024. And so I'm going to share some of that consolidated data with you And I would also tell you that as best we could, through the efforts of Alan Kress and his folks over there, and I took a look at it as well, we tried to really distill it down to the point where these are just Rowan County Sheriff calls, so they don't include municipal calls that we're going to talk about just in terms of numbers. So, before we begin, it's always good to take a look and get some perspective where we are now. And so our ordinance that we have on the books is fairly simple. It regulates amplified sound only. And this criteria in section 1410 is really the meat of what the ordinance is. It's unlawful for any person, group, or event to operate any sound amplification equipment, which includes a radio, tape player, stereos, etc., emitting a sound that is unreasonable, frequent, and continued with such volume at any time on any given day of the week in a manner which may annoy or disturb the quiet, comfort, or repose of the general public. And the provision is applicable when the source of the noise is plainly audible to a responding law enforcement officer at a distance of 100 feet. So there's a couple things there. The way the ordinance is written now is that it's a 24-hour ordinance. This standard applies any time of the day, whether the calls come in that way, whether they're chosen to be enforced that way, I don't know. But again, the way the text is written, it's 24 hours. And it's solely up to the discretion of the responding officer as to whether or not it constitutes an unreasonable sound. And it's got to be an amplified sound. There are exceptions to that standard. Safety signals, warning devices, church bells, noise from parades, lawful picketing or other public demonstrations, noise from fireworks on holidays, emergency work, and noise from outdoor athletic events or sports facilities. I would tell you that if we do end up amending the ordinance, probably being more specific about what an outdoor athletic event is or is not, as well as a sports facility, is probably worthwhile. You all know from experience that we have a provision called a permit to exceed, and that's when an event will have amplified sound well into the evening, and they want to be more certain than just telling their neighbors or inviting their neighbors to their party or their event that they're going to be loud. They want to get an approval through this board. And so those permits are handled by our office. We notify adjoining property owners, and this board generally makes a decision to issue that approval. The enforcement is through the Rowan County Sheriff's Office, and the misdemeanor citations that are issued for violations of this ordinance is $100 for the first offense. Second offense is $200, and the third and subsequent offenses are $300. Any questions so far?
Is that the same, the fines, are those the same as they are now? Is that an increase?
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
That is
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. These are the current ones. Yes, ma'am. These are currently in the ordinance, and I just try to get it all on one page. There's a series of definitions, and there's some other whereases and therefores and things like that. But that's basically the county's noise ordinance as it is right now. It applies anywhere in the county outside a municipality, and it's enforced by the sheriff's office.
Ed, what's the procedure to adjust the noise ordinance so that there is a deadline that no sound can come out?
That's what we're going to talk about next.
Okay.
That's a very valid question, and that's really one of the reasons that I wanted to get in front of you guys before we send this to the planning board. We want to make sure that we've got some sense of a direction from the board and what seems to be reasonable and something that may be palatable for adoption.
Ed, can I ask you just real quickly, if we have somebody that only has, we have up our way, we have a rodeo every year. So let's say that they ignore this.
Right.
And are these fines for 1 year period, or if they continuously, every year they do it, if they ignore it?
Great question. These are for each specific instance. And so typically, the second offense would be for that same day. The way we sort of talked about this in here is that if you have a third offense within 7 days, that's kind of the maximum fine. I don't remember how the ordinance calls that out currently. It just says that each incident shall constitute a separate and distinct offense. So it could be the same day, it could be the second party, but you would tend to think that they have some period where they start over. I mean, it would be difficult to say that I don't think you could carry it from year to year, in other words. And I think really the hope there would be that we would get or give them or have them apply for a permit to exceed. Let's get them in the loop to have sheriff's deputies out there and end at a reasonable hour. Sometimes it may not be possible due to weather or injuries, the host of things that go on, but during our staff level discussion, we talked with the sheriff's chief deputy, and what we sort of thought about preliminarily was talking with the employee there at their office that coordinates sheriff's deputies to go and assist these events. If they don't have a permit, we need to get them in the loop. Consequently, we would hope that the sheriff's office wouldn't send somebody out there to be at the facility. And that's one of the problems I think has maybe been in the past, is that when someone's there, they think it's a sanctioned or a permitted event just because there's a sheriff's deputy there. And that's not always been the case, as we know. But anyway, let's kind of look at what type of calls telecommunications received in 2024. By and large, the biggest complaint that they got were gunshots. Went back in and further broke them down to the calls that were received between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. There were about 250. Those that were received between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. were a lot less. Those were 77. The second most calls that they got, as you would imagine, is loud music. 271. Those are our amplified noise complaints, I would imagine, that have happened. I did look back and see if there were any repeat offenders for the addresses, and you can draw some parallels, but they're all over the place. So then you go down the list: construction, heavy equipment, people acting crazy. There's one of those. ATVs, motorcycles, others, loud vehicles. Got your mowing your grass, weed eater, dog barking. Interestingly, there were only 6. For some reason, kids playing causes a problem. The other one that I was not as familiar with, but when we started looking into this, we found out that there are probably more of these calls than really show up, and that's explosions and shooting of tannerite. And these were between the hours, Alan pulled them out, and it's between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. So those are the summary of the call types that come into to the 911 office. And so as we sat and we talked about it at a staff level, these are some ideas that we wanted to share with you and see if they resonate with you.
Well, Ed, let me say right now, this tannerite's got to go. There's no reason to have it.
Okay.
Serves no purpose except to make a loud noise, and it broadcasts miles away.
Right.
So my recommendation is to outlaw tannerite in the county.
Okay. Well, I don't know that we can outlaw the sale of it, but we can certainly
Outlaw the discharge of it.
the discharge of it. So what we had talked about, you know, if you think it needs to be tighter, we talked about tannerite explosions between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And I see the chief deputy back there and the sheriff. They could probably answer this, but I think they have to be, the only way they can detonate, and you will know this, the only way they can be detonated is through a discharge of a firearm shooting. Is that correct? So, but then you got that aspect of it too. We got a lot of these calls. It's one of those that's a very touchy subject, the discharge of firearms. Is there an hour that these things shooting shouldn't occur unless you're like at the Wildlife Club, some other business that caters to shooting? I mean, it's a gun range, those that are out there. If we do that, is there a distance that this needs to occur or not occur? Looking at counties across the state, I think half of them had a separation distance of 300 to 500 from an occupied residence. I don't think they had an hourly or time limit, but that's something we were interested in. Is that something the board would be supportive of?
Well, what about people that are hunting?
I don't think, and that's a good question, and the most of the ordinances that talk about things of this nature don't regulate hunting. And I think that would be an exception, certainly, that's in there. Again, if you have the appetite for it, it's not in there now. We don't have to have it at all. Parties or gatherings that are loud that don't have amplified sound. You know, there are going to be these situations that are potentially a nuisance. I mentioned this previously, the update definitions of athletic event and sports facility. Do we want to still regulate sound amplification devices 24/7? Or do we just want to look at 11 p.m. and 7 a.m.? And that's kind of what Commissioner Pierce asked the first question. Is there a sort of a drop dead date or a time limit on what seems to be reasonable to have noise, if you will? There's also an idea that the penalties for violation should increase. We saw that we had the 100, 200, 300. We're looking at 250, 500, and potentially $1,000 if it was the third offense within 7 days of the second. That answers Commissioner Green's question. Otherwise, it would be a $500 fine for that third offense. We like the idea of the permit to exceed. We think it sort of helps gain compliance in a lot of ways. Folks submit to the process and their neighbors are aware of it. If there's any real safety concerns, the sheriff's office is part of that review process, where we can adjust that process to where we get more feedback from them. And again, the process we would recommend that stay pretty much the same, that the sheriff's office would enforce it. What do you guys think?
Well, you know, we have 950 farms in Rowan County, give or take one. We don't know why tannerite is being used, but I would imagine, my understanding is tannerite's used to blow up stumps, or open up. We got a lot of creeks, we got beavers. So, I mean, I'm not judging. Certainly, I do understand blow up Tannerite for the fun. I think that's probably what brought this whole issue to light. I got a call from a lady that said once a year someone uses Tannerite to shoot off fireworks, and people are just different. Once a year is fine with me. Someone gave me Tannerite for, I don't even know why I've got. Yeah, as a gift. I don't know. I don't even know.
Well,
Got the same issue with firearms. You know, if you deer hunt, you can't hunt, or sun comes up, can't hunt after the sun goes down, but, you know, I don't coon hunt. There are folks that do. It's a
I've
big,
done it,
yeah, it's a big culture.
and it's nighttime, it's midnight when you're shooting.
It's nighttime.
again, part of the reason that I'm coming to you at this point is to make sure that we're not going to waste your time. We're not going to waste the planning board's time putting something together that's not in the best interest of everyone. I mean, you know, this can get turned around real quick into something we don't want it to be. Just trying to get some clarification before we move to the next step in the process. This is different than a lot of what we do, and I just want to be careful.
I mean, I'm good with, if we want to say you can't blow stuff up after 11 o'clock, I'm fine with that. Can blowing your stump up or opening up a creek not wait until 7 in the morning? I think it can. You know, but I don't live the life of some folks that may be a necessity. The whole hunting thing, again, that's, I don't coon hunt, but folks do, and I don't know what other animals you hunt legally after dark. Do you know?
That's the only one I know of.
Well, there's also farms that have livestock that need to protect those animals as well, that we have to keep in mind, coyotes and things like that are nocturnal animals.
Yeah, a lot of guys that hunt coyotes, after, you know, they come in with goggles on, they can see with them, they hunt that.
Never seen a coyote go to
Run when you do.
And then with the penalties, we say first violation. I mean, would that be after a warning?
Yeah, I think we included a
So
warning provision.
neighbor
in there.
calls, hey, this is going on. We'd send someone out, they give a warning, but 20 minutes later, an hour later, we find out they're just not.
Yeah, we could detail that pretty specifically about how that works.
You're not looking to take the discretion of the officer away, it's just, we're just tweaking and changing it, maybe with some time, some provision.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So update definitions of athletic event, what, in sports facility, what's on your mind?
Well, in the past, Mr. Green's rodeo that occurs, pop-up rodeos, perhaps could be deemed an athletic event or a sports facility. They're happening outside. They're folks that are engaged in a competition. The definition is a pretty generic one, such that it could lend itself to a lot of interpretation, and I think that needs to be focused more, at least in my mind, on high school athletic events, you know, things of that nature, as opposed to things that are more, I don't want to say a party, but you know what I'm saying. They're not typically thought of in that realm. I guess the other one that sort of would eliminate a lot of confusion or guesswork is it 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. or is it all hours of the day, or is it less during the week, more on the weekend? And I say that just because from an enforcement perspective, the sheriff's office they have a lot to, at least that are running through their mind. If it tends to be uniform across the board, I think it's a whole lot easier for them to police it than if it's, you know, Monday through Thursday, it's 10 a.m., and on Friday, it's 11 p.m., and on Saturday, it's 1, and Sunday, it's not, you know what I mean? So I think we would like to, Commissioner Pierce, again, his question, when does that quiet time start? So, and maybe you guys don't have to come up with that number now, but does that seem reasonable to kind of look at?
I think it needs to be the same time every day.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to vary from that. But I don't think it needs to be as late as 11. I think 9 o'clock is fine.
Okay.
Well, are we talking about sound amplification?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, currently it's 24 hours.
right.
And-
Can you go back to your stats on the sound amplification?
277.
Those were gunshots. I didn't look at it to the level of loud music, but yeah, we can look at that.
Okay.
We can come up with a number from the planning board, and, I mean, you know how this works, if, you can adjust that, but if you still think we want to look at something different than 24 hours, that's really sort of the lane I'm in.
I'm not a sportsman. I know about coon hunting, I know about coyote hunting. But is there a law now that sun up to sundown for shooting guns so you can see what you're shooting at?
Yeah, duck hunting has specified times, and deer hunting. Not recreation. No, not recreation. I mean, that's the challenge of a rural community, and especially agricultural community. Is I'm with you. Only had 6 calls for dog bark. I'd gotten a lot of calls about that, and so you'd certainly like to address that issue, because I think they do in the municipality. But then you get into, I don't know, legally, can you do just dogs? But what about working dogs? And, is it all animals? Is it sheep and goats and cows and all of that?
Well, I got a rooster next door that starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. It goes till lunchtime. So
Well, if you're,
Rooster and lunchtime sounds like a good combination.
well, that's why I like to start my meetings at 12, so I get away from the rooster. But, you know, my concern, Mr. Chairman, is this county is changing rapidly. The farmlands that we used to have were, you know, like my grandpa, when he lived in Cleveland, had 600 acres, and that's where we hunted, because it was his property, and nobody complained because he didn't have any neighbors. Well, it ain't gonna be that way anymore. So I think it's time we got proactive and got ahead of this thing, and put some guidelines in place so that we're not here every 2 years having to change it.
I think we can come up with some reasonable things.
I think so.
So, forgive me for going back over this, but I think explosive devices or tannerite after 11. Parties maybe, changing definitions, increasing the penalties, and then looking at sort of a uniform hour, quiet hours. We'll work on that and get something back to you guys. But they'll hold a courtesy hearing. We'll go through that same process, yeah.
Ed,
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
get any complaints about gun clubs?
Elaborate just a little bit on that, Commissioner.
A shooting range? Okay, so,
No, we really haven't.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest with you, I personally haven't.
yeah.
I don't know that Shane has either. Shane, have you?
Okay.
All right, you need anything from us other than our discussion?
No, that was it. Thank you.
All right,
We'll come back and keep you posted. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. All right, Aaron.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the Crawford Building Construction Project. This is something that started some time ago. We awarded a contract to CPL back in January 2024. The board approved it. The board has also approved the design, and then the projected cost came out that the combined construction for the renovations of the Crawford building and then expansion at the courthouse would be $6,658,963. We're also currently doing a space needs study for the Justice Center that includes some of these operations. So there's two things that I ask the board to consider, or two options. One is, based on the cost of this project and that we're also doing a space needs study, is to consider authorizing the manager to approve approve a change order to the contract that would basically end this project, and it would be shelved, or two, to proceed with the project. And if we proceeded with the project, we would go out to bid.
And what's the cost on that we're currently planning? 6.1 million?
No. 6 point. Yeah, 6,658,000.
So I think our conversation has been, where the Crawford building is. They're doing a space needs study for the courts now. Doesn't make sense to move forward with Crawford until at least we get that space needs study back. Plus, Crawford, the cost per square foot is extremely high, and then we're kind of locking in that facility on that corner, and then there's nothing else we could do, and so.
What if we did it, and then the space needs came back and said, the best thing to do is tear it down and start new construction?
That's the obvious.
I don't see. We need to wait and see what the study says. I'll be willing to stop.
All right, do we have a motion for option one?
So moved.
All right, the second?
Option one is, to wait.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, we have a second. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, manager. Have some board appointments. Let me read through these. Need what? Yeah, I got you. All right, Central Iowa Workforce Development Board, Scott Sheldon applied for appointment as labor representative seat on the Central Iowa Workforce Development on Ellis Crossroad Cross Country Volunteer Fire Department. David Watson and Jerry Kepley applied for appointment for two county seats. Ellis Cross Country Volunteer Fire Department Commissioners. The first one was for Board of Trustees. This is for Commissioners. Aaron Minnie applied for reappointment to one of the two seats. Historic Landmark Commission. Cameron Garrett Sloop applied for appointment to an at-large seat at Historic Landmarks Commission. Locke Volunteer Fire Department Commissioners. Alan James Carlisle Jr. applied for an appointment to one of the two seats. Our Social Services Board, Dr. Alan King applied for reappointment to that seat. And do we have a motion and a second to approve those?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then Town of Cleveland Zoning and Planning, Eugene Adkins has applied, but Mr. Adkins has reached his term limit, but Mayor Pat Pfeiffer, has asked that we extend the courtesy of allowing him to exceed his term limits. Do we have a motion to exceed the term limit?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Then do we have a motion to appoint him for
So
the
moved.
at-large seat? We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, then we'll move on to the next item, and the board is asked to enter into closed session. Oh, I'm sorry, AA. Well, I'm way past that, aren't I? Aaron?
Yeah, this is a item to ask that the board consider authorizing the sheriff's office to earn overtime as requested in a memo from Jason Owens dated May 28, 2025. The one exception would be the recommendation is to amend the dates from June 8, 2025 to July 5th, 2025. And this overtime is more than is required by the overtime rules and regulations, because this would provide extra pay for officers to work overtime even if they've been out sick or on vacation or taking some type of training.
And you all have I think you've discussed this with the sheriff, yeah, and so y'all are good with this? Sure.
Thank you. We asked for this till December. I would ask you if you wouldn't consider December to give us the summer, maybe through August. What this is that this allows our deputies and our jailers, we are 10 short on the jail side and 10 short on patrol. Also have numerous deputies out on FMLA. We're actually, if you look at physical positions, short probably about 30, counting all those people on FMLA in different phases. We have several that have to go to BLET. These are the summer months when people want to take vacation. And if I'm a patrol officer and I know that within that 28-day pay cycle, I'm going to take a weekend trip with my family, I'm not going to sign up for overtime because I know that it's going to fall within that 28 days and I'm not going to get paid for it. I want to get reverted back to comp time. So that is a disadvantage. The jail currently is allowed to do that. All we're asking is that patrol be allowed to do the same thing so that they can fill in for others that are short. When we took office, we were around 38 positions short. We've been down to 10. We're about at 20 now. And what has really helped the jail is we were about 10 short in the high 20s, is that this overtime allows you to only have to do your job. You don't have to come in and supervise 308 people with just 6 or 7 people. It allows fuller squads. So what I'm really looking for, and this is used by lap salaries, so we should have plenty of lap salaries with 20 positions short. I don't like lap salaries being used for funding other areas because if we're full, that would take that away. So I'm simply just trying to get through the summer and these vacation months so our guys do get vacations. We asked for December, but end of August would be perfect. Aaron's offered to do it through July. As long as the board would reconsider it monthly, that's where I'm at, is that we're trying to just extend as many bodies as we can at this time so people can take vacations. We have numerous employees. Anna sends us a list every month of over 480 in comp time. We just don't have the manpower to take comp time. And these guys are not, if they don't get paid, they don't want to work. So I understand that. That's just our request, to use that lap salary.
Can we approve this as written and just be willing to work with you if need be?
Well, could we stipulate that we look at it monthly? We can approve this one, start with the new budget, and then look at it every month, see what it needs.
Make that as a motion.
Make it in form of motion.
Do you have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Madam Clerk, now? Board is asked to enter into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A1 to consider approval of the minutes of closed session held May 19, 2025, as described in 143-318-10E pursuant, and also pursuant to 143-318-11A5 for lease negotiations and pursuant to 143-318-11 for personnel. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are back. We're out of closed session. No action items. Motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
In a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Pierce, you have a motion for us?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, be safe.